Good afternoon and welcome to the conversation. On Tuesday, the entire country jumped to joy as Christine Boma came second, with Beatrice Masalingi coming in at sixth place there. During the Tokyo Games, that is a women's 200-meter run. Now, we unfortunately could not get Christine, Beatrice and Coach Henk Botha to join us here. It seems like it is a bit late in Japan. It's about 12:30, and we've been trying to get a hold of them, and I can imagine that the excitement is so much. Nevertheless, we do have the Executive Director in the Ministry of Sports with us. That is Audrin Mathe. Thank you very much for joining us, Edie.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Edie, I mean, the whole conversation of sport development came in as the girls especially arrived at the Tokyo Games, and they made us all look sideways and just look at the enormous progress that they've made. And I mean, at the age of 18, one can imagine what is still ahead for them. And coming back to my question, Edie, what does this mean for the country, this gold, this silver medal? Look at me speaking a gold into existence for us. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. This really is huge for us. We had a serious session since Frank Project 1996. We hadn't won anything close to silver. So really, this is a rallying point for us as a country to have something to rejoice and to inspire people that this can be done. Frank Felix did his part. Other athletes did the same. And these girls now have, again, aroused our appetite in sport. And I think as a country, we're extremely grateful. You might have seen how joyful the president was, the vice president, all the leaders of our country, the minister, the deputy minister, everybody in the country from north, south, east. We've been together to ensure that we support them, because this has not happened in a very long time. As a consequence of that, we are now preparing to give them a warm reception when they land here on Tuesday.
Yeah. Let me just read a part from what Coach Henk told us. We wrote a story earlier this week just about Coach Botha and his journey with the two girls. He spoke about what they had gone through to get the girls where they are. They went just to learn from the experience. And one of the major issues that came up was sports development and the lack thereof. I know the ministry's budget has also been limited in the last, 5 years now, and it continues to just reduce as the budget gets a bit smaller, you can say. Edie, what's the ministry doing on sports development? We have athletes saying that they don't get any support.
Indeed, there are some challenges with regards to funding. We all recognize that. The situation in which we currently are in of COVID has made things even worse, because the priorities obviously will change. We must make a decision between putting up medicine in the nearest hospital or putting up a sports facility. So these decisions have been made, and they've been made in accordance with the reality on the ground. That being the case, we had some facilities. We still have some facilities around the country now, in most regions at least, but not to the standard that we want them to be. As a consequence of that, we are currently mobilizing about $900 million to develop some infrastructure in phases over a period of 3 years, so that at least we can develop sport from the grassroots up. Essentially, this is how Beatrice and Christine were identified. A sports officer in Kavango East actually saw them. And then they were brought into the National Schools Union League. So that's how they were picked up. And Coach Henk has done an extremely good job to pick them up and put them through the ropes that led them to the Olympics, where Christine ended up winning silver. So we are aware of the challenges, and we're working with all the stakeholders. And the issue of infrastructure really is not a government issue alone. Private sector can put up their own infrastructure that is aimed at developing talent. I know there's some regions where they have facilities. If you go down to Oranjemont, they have facilities there for sport. Soccer on Walfish Bay, especially, the municipality, they run sports facilities. So it's really a collaborative effort for all of us to be able to create these opportunities for young people like Christine Mboma and many others who have not yet been identified. And I'm sure they are there in the very remote places of our country.
Yeah. Edie, very interesting there. You're talking about the funding of these issues. We have for instance, the sports, under the Namibian Sports Act, it makes provision for a sports development fund to be established. Do we have such a fund?
The fund does exist. It's in the Act, the Sports Act, but there's no money in the fund. That's why we are now engaging we're mobilizing private resources to already beef up what government is contributing to the ministry itself, so that that can then be used for development. Yeah. As I mentioned, there will be some more news coming in the next 2-3 months regarding how that is progressing. Again, we should not look at the government alone. There are companies who are doing a lot in sport. I can mention Nempo being one, where they really invest a lot in sports, including sponsoring some of the teams that are going now for Paralympics in Tokyo. So this is really a collaborative effort. Even individuals, they can do so. Hank Botha did that in his individual capacity. He was able to bring this using his own resources. So it's really possible. If all of us have interest in sport, we can contribute our part.
Yeah. Edie, very interesting. I just want to come back to my point. If, let's say, we had the Sport Development Fund, and do fully agree with you that it's not government's effort alone. But I mean, government or your ministry's budget for the last 5-6 years have been decreasing tremendously. I mean, why didn't we think of collaborating with private companies to have the development fund filled? And therefore, for instance, in rugby, they have the Rugby Limited company that is a company established to facilitate the NRU's duties in terms of sponsorships and money going to players. Why hasn't the ministry, in terms of the sports fund, done that and get private companies to have put money into or assist with money into the sports development fund, and therefore channeling it to athletes and sportsmen and sportswomen all over the country?
Your question implies as if nothing has been done, which is just to the contrary. And again, we're not in a blame game to see who has not done that, who has not done it, but really to see what can we do to move forward. You see, there was a stakeholder engagement, maybe 2015, to look at the sports in the country, and there were some specific recommendations there, including setting up a trust where money will be collected that will be managed perhaps maybe independently, so that everyone else has access to those resources. Those are being considered. And where sports code have had a need to apply for private funding, those that have requested such, we've given them the letters of support as a government to say, these teams need so much money, can please support them. So we've encouraged the use of private funds in the absence of sufficient resources from the state to be able to provide for 47 active sports code in the country.
Yeah. The 900 million you're speaking about over 3 years, will that then tackle some infrastructures, like, for instance, the Katatura Youth League, where we, for instance, have the students can't go there, they can't, in fact, enjoy the facilities there. Will the 900 million then tackle renovating such a place in terms of its courts, in terms of just the facilities there, to ensure that the children in these communities have access to these places? And then will there also be some sort of mentorship? I mean, if we have Coach Botha, is there already a program in place to ensure that we have athletes and coaches and these potential athletes meeting and having some sort of relationship and development?
Yes, I struggled a little bit to hear what you were speaking, but what I was able to deduce is that I'm not able to pinpoint which specific facilities in Katutura or Rundu or up for grade. The point I'm making is that there will be resources. And once the resources are received, we have then to go in terms of priorities. Which region requires what facilities? For example, most regions, as a matter of fact, they don't even have a swimming pool. What do you do? Do you first provide for those who don't have anything at all? Or do you go and improve those that are already existing in areas where they are? So these conversations will follow at the next stage. So I'm not able to give you, to tell you now that we're going to renovate Seminole Stadium, Kitmanswap, Mariental. The second part of your question, if I understood correctly, is that this program really will involve establishment of centers of excellence across the country. There will be areas, schools that we identified where we concentrate our resources in that region, so then students know that this particular region in this particular school in our region is the one that has been identified as a center of excellence. So it can be used as a springboard for national stage.
Yeah. Why is it taking so long? I mean, why did it take the win of a silver medal from Christine for government to implement such a thing, to look at the infrastructure after so many years?
The Olympics did not take place in 2015. Christine Boma just won a few days ago. So what I'm telling you now came from the stakeholder engagement of 2015. So the question cannot stand that the way it's taking so long, because I'm telling you which was already issues which were already in the pipeline.
Yeah.
There's nothing new there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's new to you that we've not discussed. It's all that you asked me. Hence, I'm sharing information that is probably not been shared before.
Yeah. I also want to ask Edie about the reward policy. What will the girls get in terms, or those who participate in the Olympics get from government?
Yes, indeed, there is a reward policy. We are fully aware of it. We drafted it. What we are doing now, between what we've been doing for the last 2 months, really, is to mobilize resources so that it's implemented in the manner in which it was drafted. So that's going to happen. Yeah.
I also want to read a piece of the. I lost it now. It's okay. Coach Henk spoke about, how difficult it was, looking at the girls paying for their school in terms of their track time, and all of this really took, almost all of his time, plus having his children, having a family, mentoring these girls through. Are you guys gonna look at I think earlier you did answer this question, but in terms of a mentor program, have you guys gotten any word from any athletes who are struggling, any coaches who are struggling to get athletes through school, get them to their training time, and still have the nutritional section of it? Are you guys looking into a mentor program?
Yeah, that's precisely what this program that I spoke about earlier is going to aid. It's going to look at coaches. It's going to look at athletes themselves. It's going to look at the administrators. So how do we capacitate them? And again, this is going to be grassroots based, such that coaches will be provided training in the areas where they live, using the resources that will be available to them through this program, so that mentorship really takes place at that level. We can include more people than sending people to another country. So the idea is that we'll bring coaches from wherever we can find them. Then they will go into the regions to ensure that coaching and mentorship programs take place there.
Yeah. What we've also seen over the years that have left sportsmen and sportswomen sort of on the sideline is just the politics within the sports itself. Not to speak about NFA and NPL, not to speak about the rugby and the rugby players and other sports codes as well. There have been a lot of politics. Sort of, what is the ministry's role in that then? To ensure that these sportsmen and women are not left on the sideline and their development just goes out of the window with it?
Yeah, we do share the sentiments when we see these squabbles in the media. But I must point out that the government does not run these organizations. There are regulations that governs how the involvement of government into the administration. So these questions can really be addressed by those specific federations, but we give them support to the extent that we're allowed to do so, because as you know, most of these, they are governed by international regulations that limit government's role in their management. If you are referring to a football association, obviously we've been following events. We have had the keen interest in the outcome of that, because it's all our interest for football to begin to be watched in our country, so that our people really can benefit from this. Yeah. There are people who depend entirely on sport, and if there's no sporting activities taking place in the country, obviously that's a disadvantage to them. In the process, you disadvantage many other people who depend on them for survival.
Yeah. What do you say? Like, I'm going to ask you some questions from our viewers. They're also joining us, and they have some comments. I just want to throw one at you. We have Pavo just calling your ministry salary collectors and just sort of existing in your positions. What do you say to?
I have to encourage you, and I'm struggling to hear you.
All right, I'll speak a bit up. Edie Pavo from Facebook, who's watching live with us, said that your ministry, especially those who deal with sports, they are salary collectors. What do you say to some of these comments? Because we've heard them before.
I didn't quite get the question, really.
A viewer from Facebook asked, or made a remark saying that your ministry, and especially those in the youth sections and the sports sections, do not do anything for the development and for the mandate that it was employed for, and it is there for. What is your comments to people who say that?
Thank you. See, largely, most of these people that have been developed through the programs that the ministry have implemented. I've just given an example of Beatrice Masalingi. They were actually identified by our staff members in Rundu through the program that we have initiated. Through the youth games, some of you must have seen that taking place in Oudtshoorn. That's the program that we have created, so that young athletes can come through that, then we give them opportunity to advance international level. So that's what has happened. Mm. Also, we have provided funding for the team to go and participate in the Olympics and also the Paralympics later this month. So government have put the resources. It may not be enough to the satisfaction of everyone else, but given the affordability now, that's what we've been able to do.
Yeah. To all the viewers, we do apologize. We hope to have Christine, Beatrice and Coach Henk with us, but unfortunately it seems that it is a bit late there and they cannot connect. So we will try to have a separate interview with them, hopefully when they're awake again, and then we will broadcast that on our page. But unfortunately they couldn't join us for this conversation. Thus, the conversation today will be a bit shorter than it is. Edie, we have Hilaria Johannes, the marathon, running in the marathon soon. What is some encouraging words for her?
You know, excellence has no boundaries. Any person that has a passion in sport or any activity, there is a way. If you know, those of us who come from where Beatrice and Christine comes from, you will know the conditions in which those girls live, where I come from.
Yeah.
You can succeed at anything that you choose to focus your on. And when these opportunities, like we're trying to create this platform now, the talent management and development program, really there are more opportunities, because a lot of people have seen now that it's possible. If Christine can do this, if Beatrice can do this, if Johannes can do this, any person can do that. we will struggle from our side to ensure that these dreams are realized. It's not always possible to get resources, but where there is willingness to do so, we'll be able to do that if we work together.
Yeah. This was a very sweet and short conversation. Edie, thank you so much for joining us. This brings us to the end of this very short broadcast. We do apologize for all of you. We're excited to speak to Christine, or to see Christine and Beatrice, as well as Coach Henk, speak to us. We hopefully want to catch them as soon as they are back awake. And we just received a notification from the Ministry of Information that they will be arriving on Tuesday. So we hope to catch them at the airport. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Sanitize. From me, Shaligan, it is a good evening.